Hi, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 10 tips for anyone who is starting their first home studio. Now, I will say that I've been owning my own home studios for well over 30 years now. It's been a really fun hobby. I'm certainly no expert. However, I just wanted to share with people out there some tips and some little things that I've learned over the years to really make your home studio the best home studio that it can be. I will also say that I am primarily a keyboard player. I'm not really a guitarist, so most of what I'm about to tell you is intended more for keyboardists or people who are into synthesizers, especially analog synthesizers and hardware synths. So a lot of the information I'm about to tell you is geared more towards those musicians. So I sat down and thought of 10 things that I wish someone had told me way back when I opened my first home studio. Certainly there are a lot of very little things that you can do that can be a big help. And that's exactly what I'm going to go over in this video. So here are my 10 suggestions for anyone wanting to start their first home studio. So coming in at number 10 is what I like to call batteries, outlets, and adapters. Now you may have certain pieces of gear in your studio that require batteries, so you always want to have some fresh batteries on hand. I find that AA batteries are usually the most necessary, but sometimes it could be C cells or even AAA. So always make sure you have a fresh supply of batteries close by. For outlets, now this is very important. If you are running a home studio, especially if you are an electronic musician like me, and you've got a lot of synthesizers and drum machines and outboard signal processors, you want to make sure you set up your studio in a room with a lot of wall outlets. You're going to need quite a power supply, and especially if you can have various outlets on various walls located in that room, that would be ideal. I have run studios with just one outlet in the room. I had no other choice. And let me tell you, that was very, very challenging. So if you can do it in a room that has 2, even 3 different wall receptacles, that's ideal. And for adapters, I can't tell you how many times over the years I have used 1/4-inch jack to RCA adapters, just like the one you see now on the screen. These are so useful and come in so handy. Now, especially if you don't have a lot of 1/4-inch to 1/4-inch cable, these are going to be absolutely necessary. I have a lot of RCA cables, and in order to interface a lot of my synths and drum machines, I have to have a 1/4-inch connection. So these things can be indispensable. Coming in at number 9, if you are like me, if you use a lot of old analog or vintage synthesizers, turn them on and let them warm up for a few minutes. They're almost like an old radio, especially the real old ones from the 70s. It's really ideal to turn them on and let them warm up for a few minutes before you actually play them. I've been told by many people that a lot of the old synths, if you just turn them on and start playing them immediately, the tuning will be wonky. Now, this isn't always the case, but it often is the case. So in order to get things really going at an ideal temperature, you want to let them warm up for a few minutes. Number 8, soundproofing. Now, especially if you are a singer, or if you record acoustic guitar or any sort of acoustic instruments, you're going to want a soundproof room. Now, there are certainly different types of foams that you can buy that you can cover your walls with to make the room soundproof. That's always an option. I've heard of some people even covering the walls with empty egg cartons. That would work too. Anything that will sort of soften the environment and make it a bit more conducive to recording vocals or anything acoustically. Soundproofing can really help your sound be that much more professional. Number 7 is lighting. Now, this might not sound like a big deal, but it really is. And it all depends on your personal preference. Some people work better in a dimly lit room, and that's fine. Myself personally, I like to have a lot of light. I really like to see what I'm doing, and as I get older, I've noticed that I certainly require a lot more light to see things. So you want to sometimes have a room that's very, very bright. I find that that really helps my creativity. In my younger days, I preferred rooms that were darker, but now I definitely prefer a room that is brightly lit. Coming in at number 6, you want a good recorder or software. And again, this is all personal preference. You might prefer using virtual synths, you might prefer using a digital audio workstation. That's fine. Or if you're like me, you might prefer more the hardware approach. Whatever you choose, choose the one that's best for you. I personally prefer tabletop digital recording. I have a Fostex MR8, which is a tabletop 8-track, and I love it. I've gotten so many years of use out of this thing, and it has been a real workhorse for me. But some of you may prefer the virtual approach. And I know a lot of people ask me, what is the best DAW on the market today? And really the best way I can answer that question is, whatever is the best one for you. Do your homework, do your research. If you can try some trial versions, give it the trials a try and see which one really works best for you. That's the one that you should get, the one that you feel the most comfortable with. Coming in at number 5 is what I call no rheostats. Now, in case you're wondering what a rheostat is, they are those round dials. Sometimes a room will have rather than a switch to turn the light off and on, there will be a round dial where you can turn on the light and increase the brightness or dim the lights. I've had some people say they tried recording in a room with rheostats and it gave a real nasty hum to their recordings. Now, I've spoken to other people who said they've recorded in rooms with rheostats and they had no problem whatsoever. So, beware. Again, you might set up your studio in a room with rheostats and have no problem at all. But I definitely know some people who do, so definitely keep that in mind when you're trying to choose a room for your home studio. Number 4, a good tuner. This is absolutely essential. Every studio needs to have a good tuner. And of course, if you're like me and you use old analog synthesizers that can go out of tune very easily, you definitely want to use a tuner. Again, do your research, find the one that works best for you. I have a Boss tuner, which I've been using for years, and it works great. And I can use it for instruments, and I can also actually use it for vocals, as it has a built-in microphone. Number 3, again, this might sound very simple, but a good chair. If you're the type of person like me who does marathon recording sessions, you're going to want to be comfortable. So it's very important to have a good, comfortable chair that you can use for hours on end. A lot of people swear by swivel chairs, and certainly if that works for you, go for it. I love the big office chairs with the nice big arms that you can swivel in. I think those are great. Certainly in my younger days, a lot of my recording I did standing up. And I could get away with that in my 20s, but as I get older, that becomes more and more difficult. So again, it might seem like something that most people don't even think about, but a good chair is very, very important. Number 2, get yourself a decent microphone. There are lots of things that you can cut corners on. There are lots of things that you can buy on a budget. You can find cheap digital 4-track recorders. You can find cheap software that you can use that can give you really good results. But in terms of microphones, try not to cut corners. You want to invest a good amount of money into your microphone. What is the best microphone? Again, that's personal preference. I use a Rode NT01 and I love it. It's crystal clear. I didn't pay a fortune for it, but it gives very professional results. So especially if you're the type of person who records vocals, or if you need a microphone to record drums or guitars or anything like that, you want to do your homework and get something that is decent. Again, you can cut corners on a lot of studio supplies, but not the microphone. It's very, very key, especially if you want to have a decent sound. And number 1 is good cables. Again, this may sound very simple and it might be something that people don't even think about, but if you try to cut corners and buy cheap cables, you're going to regret it. You're going to end up having cables that don't work half the time, or the left channel might randomly cut out as you're in the middle of a take. You don't want that. There is nothing more frustrating than an unreliable cable. So again, rather than trying to cut costs, invest a little bit of money and get those really good quality audio cables. You'll thank yourself in the long run. So, those are my 10 tips for creating and starting your first home studio. I hope you found this information useful. And if I've missed anything, if you can think of a suggestion, maybe there's something that you would suggest someone should do if they're opening their first home studio, certainly leave a comment below in the comment section. And as always, please subscribe to my channel. I post new tech reviews all the time. Many of my reviews are related to synthesizers, drum machines, electronic music, and home recording. So if that's your thing, please subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you aboard. Leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again. We'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.